Hey everybody, welcome to Friday Follow-Up for the week of February 21st to 25th. Week started great with family day and one of my kids' birthday, so we really had a great family start to the week, really fabulous long weekend last weekend. It really kind of brought into the contrast in the last 24 hours with all the activity in Ukraine, and I'm sure most of all, if not all of you, have seen the kind of picture of a dad and saying goodbye to his daughter before heading off to the front to defend his country. Dad looked pretty similar age to me, and his kids certainly similar age to my kids, and just imagining myself in that position of having to go defend my country against trained soldiers. It's a pretty scary thought, and so I have lots of empathy for the people of the Ukraine, but I hope our leaders here in Canada, the United States, and Western Europe do their best to mitigate the amount of violence that's going to happen. And I'll kind of leave it at that of, the only thing we can do that I think is rational is try to contain the amount of violence that is occurring, will occur, and not putting gas, pun intended, onto that fire. With that, kind of back the shifting to the work front is been a really productive week on the Gladius.Games file. Really excited about what we're building and how we're building there. We have a very tight focus on what problem we solving, who we solving it for, what kind of value proposition, tooling, job to be done do we need to deliver to that customer in order to solve that problem and create a monetary vehicle that makes sense for not only the customer, the community, as us as an entity. Startup 101. What's the problem we solve? Who we solve it for? How do we make money if we solve it? What kind of investment do we need to put in as a team to get there? And really working well at doing that, and had a really positive day today on Friday, interacting with the first prospective customer, validating that our vision's kind of well aligned with where they want to go as a user of the technology that we're trying to deliver at Gladius. Really pleased with how that team's coming together and what we're doing and how we're working. On the Quest front, very excited about that as well, because it's bringing kind of a gaming thesis together. And Quest is the new name for SuperWhale, which I've mentioned in my kind of prior posts as well. And why it's kind of rebranded as Quest is a merger of guilds, which is a pretty interesting, maybe the first in the world, who knows. Proof of Games and SuperWhale Guild came together and formed Quest. And really doubled the size of the guild and brought some super talent together to really build beyond the guild, creating sustainable, durable play-to-earn economics by moving it towards that play-to-own. And I think we're seeing a lot of similar action on the Gladius game side of bringing esports, so kind of the standard Activision, Blizzard, Epic, the major gaming titles, and the esports that go around those major AAA, AA titles towards Web3. Where the fans, the players, the teams can get different ownership models working through Web3. Meanwhile, those titles are owned by the major publishers. And so kind of getting that hybrid between the kind of full open source of play to earn like Axie Infinity provides, that Quest has built an amazing position inside of, and really also participated in an event earlier in the week that had Geo from the Axie Sky Mavis team kind of talk about their vision. They built a very compelling platform, and kind of the merger between play to earn and esports is a compelling, very interesting opportunity. And kind of both the Quest team and the Gladius team are kind of working from different angles with different perspectives on how to kind of hit that bridge between esports and play to earn. And in that sector, there's just going to be a tremendous amount of value created, because the attention on gaming is just incredible. You think Netflix and movies and all that kind of stuff is lots of money and lots of attention. Gaming is bigger. Say that again. Gaming is so much bigger than movies. It's not even close. So where there's attention, there is monetization capability, and like Web3 is going to unlock a lot of it, because where it is now, it's Twitch advertising, it's selling the game for $60, the console for $600. Web3 is going to open up so much more monetization space in that. And similarly, kind of building loyalty and more sustainability in the play to earn space of, not just having players chase the next buck. It's getting more engaged in their guild by having an ownership stake in the guild, creating the content, creating the education, onboarding new scholars, understanding how breeding works and all the different mechanics of the Web3 games work is a path to much deeper ownership and therefore deeper loyalty. And that's just going to create a whole dynamic that I'm really excited about, because I see in that space how DAOs, guilds, decentralized organizations of humans to get things done, make investments, is going to evolve to that space, because gaming is just a much more natural space for doing that than kind of transposing and schemorphically kind of morphing over traditional business into Web3. Games kind of live there already. And so I think it's a really great space to experiment with the DAOs. The other area that we've made a ton of progress on this week is real world assets, real world business on chain through FactorChain and seamless supply chains. We've made a lot of progress on our product roadmap and how we're going to deliver that product roadmap. Huge amount of that is in the user interface. How do we extend wallet functionality, on-chain functionality, and bring it into much more of a Web 2 interface in a responsible way? Has been really excited, and I think, again, those things can fit back into that kind of gaming modality in an interesting way. So I really see the portfolio coming together, even though there's some kind of separation of two different tracks there, but both are, how do you do human activity with this new technology in a way that kind of monetizes it differently and creates the different power dynamics, which I can create much more even and open playing field where the best can compete and it's win versus the best gets bought by the biggest company in the old world of, if you're the best player, you get to go play in the NHL. If you're the best player, you get bought by Walmart or Amazon, more correctly, Amazon, and go work for them. And so in Web3, we could be independent. It's much more, creates a lot more competitive dynamics, much more competitive market, I believe. So I'm excited about that. The kind of last piece that I'll tie in is, kind of thinking back to the start of the week and Family Day and having a really fabulous long weekend that celebrated a birthday with my children, was kind of seeing the images coming out of the Ukraine, which I'm sure you guys have seen. The dad saying goodbye to his daughter before, presumably going off to the front as a Ukrainian citizen to go fight the Russians. Unbelievably scary, and myself as a dad looks relatively similar age, with certainly kids the exact same age almost as the child in the video. It's hard to imagine, and have an unbelievable amount of empathy for those people in the Ukraine. And all I can hope for is that the part of the world that I'm responsible for and is responsible for me takes every effort possible to reduce the amount of violence, because the violence is happening. Continued violence is inevitable. The only question is the scope and the scale. And there's a lot that we can do as NATO countries to escalate that violence, which I don't see a positive political outcome, economic outcome, or war outcome of that. So it's really on us to kind of contain the violence and make the scope and scale of that as small as possible, because it's happening. We've been outmaneuvered. It's only a question of containing the loss, very literally. So I hopefully, huge amount of support and empathy for the people on the ground that are involved, but really concerned that we make sure that we balance our interests as North Americans, Canadians, NATO members, first and foremost, because that's, I'm responsible to my kids. And we got to be careful, and we got to manage this conflict well. With that, I'll talk to you on Monday.